I remember a time when everything I touched seemed destined to fail. It was right around the period when both Tesla and SpaceX were teetering on the edge, and I genuinely thought I might lose everything. Investors were stepping back, people were telling me that it was time to scale down my ambitions. And there were nights I couldn't sleep because I haunted by the thought that I had made a colossal mistake. The financial crisis was in full swing, and our early attempts at rocket launches kept blowing up. I had poured my heart and soul into these ventures, but all anyone saw were headlines about delays, missed deadlines, and skeptical opinions claiming it was impossible to build a successful private rocket company or an electric car that the masses would want to drive. Every phone call felt like a confrontation I wasn't prepared to face. No matter how hard I tried, the results weren't matching the vision. I was exhausted, unsure, and at one point, I believed I might have to walk away entirely. The overwhelming doubt made me question whether I truly had the capacity to solve the complex problems I had set out to tackle. Then came a spark of clarity that changed everything. I realized that for every failed rocket test, every misaligned part, and for every negative prediction, there was also a valuable piece of information. I started seeing failure not as a dead end, but as a data point. This shift in perspective was like a door opening onto a new path. If something blew up, I asked why it happened instead of feeling the crushing weight of defeat. If investors pulled out, I sought to refine our plans so the next pitch would be stronger. That single change, viewing failure as a teacher rather than adversary, ignited a breakthrough. I noticed how each problem contained its own solution if we were persistent enough to look for it. In short, problems were no longer stopping points. They became stepping stones. I'm sharing this because I believe every person in this room has encountered or will encounter their own version of this struggle. Perhaps yours doesn't involve rockets or electric cars. It might be a business you're trying to launch, a project you're leading at work, or a personal goal that seems out of reach. Whatever it is, you know how it feels when everyone around you, and sometimes even your own inner voice says, it's time to give up. Yet, here you are still pushing forward, searching for a spark that reminds you why you cared about this dream in the first place. It's that spark, the one that says your problem can be solved if you're willing to approach it from the right angle, that truly brings us together today. If there's one thing I hope to propose, it's a new way of looking at challenges. Rather than seeing them as walls that separate us from our goals, I want us to see them as puzzles we can solve with the right insight and the right perseverance. It's about adopting a solution-oriented mindset that turns every obstacle into an opportunity for growth. We're going to explore concrete strategies, real-world examples, actionable steps you can take to strengthen your problem-solving skills. We'll dive into methods for maintaining optimism in the face of adversity, for rallying your team to believe in bold ideas, and for using mistakes as building blocks of success. By the end of our time together, my hope is that we'll all have a clearer, more empowering view of what it takes to tackle the toughest challenges and emerge victorious on the other side. I believe problem solving is not only a skill, but a mindset that can shape entire industries and even societies. The right approach, constraints become catalysts, and obstacles turn into catalysts for innovation. Today, I invite you on this journey to learn how to transform your perspective and strengthen your capacity to find solutions where others see only dead ends. Let's begin. Now, let's explore 5 core facets of developing problem-solving skills with a solution-oriented mindset. Each aspect offers its own challenges, revelations, and strategies. In these next moments, we'll travel from the spark of discovery to the depths of analysis, from storytelling that illuminates hidden truths to interactive exercises that engage our collective wisdom, and finally into a structured problem-solving framework that cements the lessons into practical steps. Through this, I hope to instill in you not just the belief that problems are solvable, the conviction that you personally have what it takes to solve them. In our first consideration, we're going to look at the importance of covering insights that often hide beneath the surface of everyday issues. This is where curiosity meets data, and where the right question can open an entire universe of answers. Let's dive in together and discover how a small shift in perspective can reveal transformative solutions. I ask you to keep an open mind and an open heart, because what we'll find is many of the blocks we face aren't as insurmountable as they first appear. They are, in fact, gateways to becoming stronger, more resourceful, and more determined innovators. Does that sound intriguing? Then let's venture forward. Here's the journey ahead. The first key point is all about discovering hidden patterns and insights. Come to realize that the best answers often arise when we ask the most revealing questions. When we stop focusing on what's wrong and start asking, does this tell me? We transform the very essence of a challenge into an opportunity. I want to begin with a simple question that might open your perspective. Have you ever faced a puzzle so daunting that you almost gave up, only to realize later that you missed a small clue that could have guided you to the solution? I pose this question because, in many ways, the act of discovery begins the moment we choose to reframe a problem, Rather than seeing it as a blockade, we treat it as a labyrinth with an exit somewhere ahead. Yes, it might be complex. Yes, it might feel like it has no end. If we are willing to ask questions, to gather clues, and to remain curious, we often find that the path toward an answer is already waiting for us to step onto it. This reframing is not merely a trick of the mind. It's a fundamental shift that releases us from the paralysis of fear and propels us into the realm of possibilities. World scenario that illustrates this came from a tech startup trying to build a revolutionary solar panel design. They kept running into production issues where the panels would degrade faster than expected. Instead of dismissing those failures as catastrophes, they began logging every piece of data, the temperature conditions, the humidity levels, the angle of sunlight exposure, and even the shipping protocols. At first glance, the spreadsheets were overwhelming. They had thousands of data points, none of which immediately suggested a straightforward solution. But one of their engineers had a moment of insight. He realized that each panel had manufacturing differences, which were influenced by a slight temperature fluctuation during the sealing process. This fluctuation, though tiny, was enough to introduce microscopic imperfections in the protective layer. Those imperfections caused an accelerated breakdown in certain atmospheric conditions. What's remarkable is how they identified this root cause, asked random questions, and persistently test assumptions against the data. They didn't say, "We have a problem, let's start over." Instead, they said, "We have a problem, let's figure out what it's telling us." That difference in approach made all the difference. Rather than scrapping the entire design, they recalibrated their sealing process, eliminated the temperature fluctuation, and extended the panel's lifespan by several years. This perspective of treating every glitch as a clue became a cultural hallmark of that startup. You see, powered discovery is that not only solves immediate issues, but also primes your team to remain ever vigilant for future opportunities hidden in present obstacles. With this lens of curiosity firmly in place, let's examine why it matters so much. First, curiosity breaks the cycle of panic. When we're panicking, the tendency is to either freeze or blindly throw resources at a problem without methodical thought. Curiosity encourages a sense of wonder. Why did this error occur? What if I invert this variable? Have I tested assumptions about user behavior thoroughly? Questions like these transform stress into a puzzle-solving mindset. Second, the discipline of discovery fuels continuous improvement. If every stumbling block is a chance to gather data, you create a feedback loop that drives innovation forward. Third, curiosity acts as the foundation for all solution-oriented thinking. If you don't question and explore, you can't truly uncover the root causes of issues. And without addressing root causes, any solution you implement is at best a temporary fix. Pragmatically, the process begins with collecting data. Gather as much relevant information as possible, even if you don't know yet what to do with it. Then, outliers or inconsistencies. Sometimes anomalies carry the seeds of solutions. For instance, if a certain software only appears on specific hardware, that might be your clue to investigate hardware-software interactions in more depth. Or if your sales drop only in a certain demographic, maybe there's something about your marketing that doesn't resonate with that group. The point is, methodical information gathering, guided by thoughtful questions, sets the stage for discovery. Armed with data and a curious mindset, the next step is to test small changes. Don't overhaul everything at once. Experiment with incremental shifts to see how the system reacts. This iterative approach ensures that you not only discover what's broken, but also learn what fixes or improvements actually work. Over time, you build a robust library of knowledge about your processes, products, or projects, thereby making each subsequent issue easier to address. In this sense, discovery isn't just about solving the problem at hand. It's about fortifying your entire operation. Curiosity is the lodestar that guides us to the darkness of uncertainty, turning confusion into clarity and fear into possibility. These words, attributed to a pioneering technologist, encapsulate how crucial curiosity can be. When you remain genuinely inquisitive, even the most confounding issues start revealing their hidden tracks. You begin to see the subtle connections that link disparate data points, and in that web of interconnectedness, the solution starts to glow like a beacon. All of this culminates in a simple but life-changing conclusion. A persistent, curious approach is what propels innovative breakthroughs. This applies to something as monumental as designing a spacecraft, as well as to something as everyday as streamlining an office workflow. Every big leap forward in technology, business, or science is preceded by a phase of intense discovery where people ask the right questions, gather the right information, and connect the dots. Often, the solution is already embedded within the problem, waiting for someone with a fresh perspective to uncover it. Let's take that conclusion and turn it into a stepping stone. Now that we've seen how curiosity can unlock solutions hidden in data and anomalies, we're in a prime position to move forward with real confidence. From this point on, let us remember that every problem has layers to be uncovered and insights to be gleaned. If we approach each challenge with open-minded investigation, we'll often find that the path to a solution is closer than we think. This discovery-based viewpoint, we move on to the next aspect of mastering solution-oriented mindset, where the power of storytelling helps us weave clarity and inspiration into the problems we face. Explored how discovery can illuminate the road to a solution. Let's shift gears and talk about the transformative power of storytelling when it comes to problem solving. Stories aren't just for entertainment. They serve as a powerful tool to break down complex ideas, rally a team around a common purpose, and nuanced challenges to draw out the nuances that require collective creativity to overcome. Share a story that shaped my understanding of what it really means to lead with a solution-oriented mindset. Early on in Tesla's history, we're trying to persuade people that electric vehicles had the potential to be both practical and thrilling. Many were unconvinced. The major concern was range anxiety, and there were endless jokes about how electric cars would run out of power halfway to the grocery store. Rather than launching into technical monologues about battery density and charging protocols, we decided to craft a narrative that people could feel their bones. We focused on the exhilaration of quiet acceleration, the environmental impact of reducing emissions, the sense of forging a new frontier of automotive freedom. We told stories that made potential customers picture themselves gliding silently down the highway, not as a compromise, but as a thrilling evolution of driving itself. This story hook was just the beginning. Once we captured people's attention and emotion, we dug deeper to flesh out the reality of what it took to make an electric car truly feasible. Batteries had to become cheaper, more reliable, and more energy dense. Charging infrastructure had to be built, tested, maintained. Each of these challenges became a chapter in a bigger narrative, the story of how we could reshape an industry. We pulled in teams of engineers, city planners, logistics experts, and marketing wizards to address each concern. Through internal storytelling sessions, we aligned everyone on the ultimate vision. A future where driving electric wasn't just an eco-conscious choice, but also a better driving experience overall. Now, the challenges were significant. We had to confront supply chain complexities that threatened to halt production. We had to navigate regulatory hurdles that didn't recognize the nuances of electric vehicle technology. And we had to convince consumers that they wouldn't have to sacrifice performance or style. The solutions emerged because each team understood the narrative and knew their role in achieving the final outcome. For example, the engineering team innovated cooling systems to push battery performance further, while the design team found ways to incorporate more efficient battery placements without sacrificing interior space. Weaving these efforts into a cohesive story, we established a clear purpose that kept everyone motivated even when the road got bumpy. Looking back, the lessons learned were immense. First, compelling story can unite people across disciplines. When everyone sees themselves as a protagonist working toward its victory, it dissolves selves and fosters collaborative thinking. Second, storytelling humanizes the abstract. Technical specs alone really move hearts, but frame them in a relatable, visionary narrative can turn skepticism into curiosity. Third, stories serve as enduring reminders of why we must persist when difficulties arise. When morale dips, remember the greater story revitalizes the drive to solve problems rather than surrender to them. I want to connect with you here on a personal level because I suspect many of you have tried to introduce new ideas or processes into your own organizations or communities. Perhaps you encountered cynicism or short-sightedness, or maybe people simply didn't see the urgency of what you were proposing. If that's the case, consider reframing the conversation through storytelling. Instead of listing bullet points about features and benefits, paint a vivid picture of life after the solution is implemented. Show how a single improvement can cascade into broader benefits that touch people's daily lives. You're talking to your boss, your investors, your neighbors. A story that resonates emotionally can accomplish far more than a set of dry facts. Power in storytelling also lights capacity to articulate the intangible. Often, the biggest hurdles in problem solving aren't the purely technical details, but the cultural or psychological barriers that keep people from seeing a path forward. When you tell a story about someone who overcame a similar barrier, perhaps shifting from a fear of failure to a love of learning, you show that transformation is possible. That sense of possibility is frequently the fuel teams need to experiment, iterate, and eventually succeed. Story is a shared language to navigate uncertainty, placing confusion with clarity and apathy with conviction. I once heard these words from a leadership expert, and they ring true for any individual or group aiming to solve complex problems. The reason is simple. When you translate data and strategy into a relatable narrative, you make it personal. People start to care because they see themselves in the story. In caring, they become more willing to engage with tough questions, more open to feedback, and more committed to persevering. Let's think of a scenario closer to home. Suppose you're leading a small team at a startup looking to pivot after failing to gain traction with your initial product. You've got limited resources and an even tighter window to make your mark. The technical plan might be sound, but the team could be demoralized. crafting a shared narrative that emphasizes how each person's X contributes to the new vision. You remind them why they signed up to be part of something that could change the landscape. You tell the story of how this might revolutionize a niche but crucial part of people's lives, letting your colleagues see the direct impact of their efforts. Suddenly, it's not just a pivot, it's a heroic journey where everyone has a part to play. When you extend this storytelling beyond the team to potential investors or customers, you give them a glimpse into the future you're shaping. Yes, with data and sound reasoning, but you wrap that data in a storyline of progress and significance. This approach can help secure buy from people who otherwise might remain skeptical. Once they're emotionally invested, they'll be more inclined to delve into the data, ask meaningful questions, and possibly become ambassadors for your cause. All stories, of course, must have some conflict. It's what makes them compelling. But in problem-solving narratives, conflict isn't the antagonist that defeats us. It's the crucible in which our ideas are tested, refined, and proven. By structuring your challenges and solutions in a narrative arc, you remind everyone involved that solutions aren't instantaneous. They're part of an unfolding process that demands persistence, creativity, and collaboration. The story acknowledges these struggles openly. It resonates even more because we'll see that they too might have faced or soon will face similar hurdles. Finally, bring it back to you and your role as a solver of problems. Stories aren't just about marketing or motivation. They help you internalize lessons in a way mere analysis can't replicate. When you can articulate your journey, where you started, what you overcame, how you triumphed, every setback along the way takes on meaning. It becomes a chapter rather than a dead. And this perspective not only strengthens your resolve, but also prepares you to mentor others who will inevitably travel a similar path. So remember, if you want to unlock the deeper potential of your problem-solving journey, tell a story. Make it relatable, make it honest, and make it forward-looking. Let everyone who hears it understand their part in achieving the resolution. That emotional and intellectual alignment can be the difference between a team that stalls when confronted by adversity and a team that forges ahead. Our collective narratives are our collective strength, and they help us imagine a world in which even the most daunting challenges can be resolved. Next, let's share focus. Let's strive forward a more analytical approach. And storytelling may open the door and gather people around it. Hard data, research, and trend analysis will guide us on how to move from inspiration to action. In many cases, it's only marry the imagination of storytelling with the rigor of analysis that truly groundbreaking solutions emerge. Let's explore how this synthesis works in practice. Not long ago, I came across a study highlighting the growing demand for electric transportation in urban areas worldwide. The statistics were clear in certain cities. Consumer interest in electric vehicles was doubling every few years. Governments were introducing incentives at an accelerating pace. Meanwhile, overall investment in charging infrastructure was rising exponentially. These numbers were more than just facts. They were roadmaps suggesting that any company with the right technology, strategy could flourish if it paid close attention to these signals. Yet plenty of businesses ignored the data, either disbelieving it or waiting for more conclusive trends to develop. That hesitation itself became a liability because data-driven insights often reward those who act early. Trends told a story of unstoppable momentum toward cleaner, more efficient mobility. Relying on detailed consumer surveys, we saw that environmental concerns were no longer niche. They had gone mainstream. People were calculating their personal carbon footprints and actively seeking solutions. Research showed that these consumers were willing to pay a premium within reason for products and services that align with their values. From battery technology boosts to expansions in public charging stations, the data painted a compelling portrait of untapped opportunity. Of course, analysis goes beyond just reading market signals. It involves applying in-depth research to determine what solutions are technically feasible in your current or near future environment. For instance, how many cycles can a lithium-ion battery withstand before its performance degrades? What does that mean for the cost per mile over 5 years? Ownership. If you want to solve a real problem, you can't rely on wishful thinking. You need to engage with the science, run the numbers, conduct tests, and figure out precisely what your product or idea can and can't deliver under real-world conditions. Still, numbers alone don't create solutions. They inform them. The magic happens when you translate raw data into practical applications. For example, let's say you're in the software industry, building a platform for remote collaboration. You might see a surge in remote work, read about its predicted growth rate, and identify the pain points people are experiencing: lack of face-to-face connection, scattered data management, or time zone coordination nightmares. By analyzing these pain points and cross-referencing them with your team's technical capabilities, you might design a more intuitive user interface or an AI-powered scheduling tool. The data points show you where people are struggling, and your creativity helps you address those struggles effectively. Consider an external perspective. Consumer electronics manufacturer notices that the majority of complaints revolve around battery life. Statistical data reveals that people are simultaneously increasing their use of mobile applications, streaming services, and background processes. Market trends show that while hardware improvements can help, real leaps forward will come from software optimization and new battery chemistries. Depth research indicates that a certain polymer might reduce heat and slow down battery degradation. By applying these insights practically, the manufacturer invests heavily in that polymer technology, dramatically extends product lifespan, and gains a market advantage. The result, a new line of devices that reviews rave about for their reliability and long battery life, turning a major weakness into a selling point. If we extrapolate further, good analysis can also guide us to anticipate future challenges and opportunities. Let's say a company is developing an AI-driven logistics system, examining how supply chains evolve in response to economic shifts, labor shortages, and climate-induced disruptions. The company can build adaptive algorithms that don't just handle today's complexities, but also prepare for tomorrow's uncertainties. In other words, data and analysis can future-proof your strategies, allowing you to pivot quickly as new variables emerge. Data is the lens through which we can see both pitfalls and possibilities, guiding our hands to shape the solutions of tomorrow. These words from a renowned analytics specialist remind us that numbers are not the endpoint, the fuel. When used wisely, data clarifies our vision, letting us differentiate between fleeting trends and genuine paradigm shifts. It allows us to calculate risks more accurately, design prototypes more efficiently, and tailor our pitches more persuasively. We must remember to interpret data with nuance. A single statistic out of context can be misleading. Thorough, balanced research combined with a willingness to update assumptions as new information arises is vital. Most importantly, analysis empowers us to measure our progress. Once a solution is in play, we need metrics and benchmarks to determine if it's actually working. Did our product launch meet its adoption targets? Are our new processes saving the time we predicted? Without concrete indicators, we're driving blind, relying on gut feelings instead of evidence. This is where the cyclical nature of problem solving becomes clear. Data, implement a solution, evaluate performance, and refine our approach in the next cycle. That iterative loop is central in a sustainable, solution-oriented mindset. And so finally find ourselves at a junction. We've harnessed curiosity to uncover insights, used storytelling to engage hearts and minds, and now we've anchored our perspective in rigorous analysis to identify viable paths forward. The next logical step is to take these insights and experience and transform them into an interactive, collective learning process. After all, problem solving rarely happens in isolation. It thrives in environments where people collaborate, share experiences, and practice new skills together. Let's explore how an interactive approach can amplify everything we've learned so far. Imagine a scenario where you have a team brimming with diverse talents. Everyone together for a thought exercise that encourages each person to step into a hypothetical situation mirroring a real life challenge your organization faces. Perhaps it's a sudden surge in customer demand that strains your supply chain or technical threats to disrupt critical operations. By placing everyone, engineers, by marketing, cost specialists, customer reps, into a simulated crisis, you provoke immediate thought and an emotional engagement. They have to work together to identify the problem's causes and propose solutions under time pressure, mirror real-world conditions. During these discussions, group members soon realize that different departments hold different pieces of the puzzle. The engineering team knows what technical constraints exist. Market folks know how customers are likely to react, and the finance department understands budget limitations. Through interactive dialogue, these pieces get stitched together into a cohesive strategy. People learn to value each other's perspectives, and that sense of mutual respect fosters a more collaborative atmosphere. Far from being a one-off exercise, this method can become a routine part of problem-solving culture, helping teams stay agile and creative. Interactivity also includes experience sharing. This goes beyond formal presentations. In small breakout sessions where individuals talk about times they confronted similar challenges in past roles. Maybe a team member once tackled a supply chain disruption at a different company. Another might have experience in rapidly prototyping solutions under tight deadlines. By encouraging these personal anecdotes and cross-pollination of ideas, your organization builds a repository of collective wisdom that you can draw upon whenever new obstacles appear. What's particularly powerful about interactive learning is direct practice. Instead of just theorizing, you create a space where your team can try out ideas in a controlled, low-risk environment. You could run a quick pilot project, test it with a small subset of users, or set up a mock environment where employees can experiment. This hands-on approach makes theoretical knowledge tangible. When people see their ideas in action, they gain clarity about what works and what doesn't. They also develop greater confidence and motivation to push boundaries. True learning occurs when minds engage, hands create, and hearts invest in the shared triumph. A teacher of mine once said this: resonates perfectly with the notion that interactive problem solving is far more than a meeting or a workshop. It's an ethos of collaboration and iterative growth by making room for real dialogue, mutual learning, tangible experimentation. You make the entire problem solving process dynamic and resilient. There's also a significant benefit in documenting these interactive sessions. People discover clever workaround or stumble upon a pitfall. Capturing these lessons ensures institutional memory grows. Future teams can look back on these experiences and adapt them to new contexts. In the same way that a software update incorporates lessons learned from user feedback, an organizational knowledge base should incorporate insights from interactive problem-solving sessions. Over time, this continuous evolution keeps your solution processes from becoming stale. A final reflection, interactive processes don't just help solve existing problems, prime the organization to respond more effectively to future ones, because participants develop skills, active listening, brainstorming, rapid prototyping, real-time feedback. They become more adept at tackling challenges that haven't even emerged yet. This adaptability is crucial in a world where change is the only constant. The best strategies are those that encourage perpetual learning, mutual respect, and the freedom to fail productively and learn quickly. So where does that leave us? We've discovered how curiosity fuels insight, how stories unite us around a common vision, how analysis refines that with data-driven realism, and how interactive processes bring that vision to life collectively. Now let's delve into a structured problem-solving pattern that knits all these threads together into a framework. We'll look at actionable frame, we'll identify challenges, methodically perform root cause analysis, propose robust solutions, implement them, and measure success. If the previous point set the stage, this next one is where the curtain rises on the real performance of solving problems with a solution or mindset. Canado is a systematic blueprint that can guide your actions when you face complex problems. It begins with a clear identification of the challenge you're trying to solve. Often, people jump straight to brainstorming solutions, but that's like prescribing medicine without diagnosing the illness. Take time to define the problem accurately. Are you facing a revenue shortfall, a product defect, or a team communication breakdown? Clarify it in terms that everyone can understand. Keep in mind that a vague definition leads to vague solutions. Precision at this early stage helps every subsequent step. Once you've pinpointed the challenge, the next step is to perform a thorough root cause analysis. Think of a problem as a weed. If you only trim the leaves, it will grow back. You have to extract the roots. Ask why the problem exists, then ask why again, and keep going until you reach the core issue. For instance, if sales are dropping, is it because the market changed? Your product lost relevance? Your customers aren't being informed correctly? Each layer of questioning peels back another layer of the onion. It can be uncomfortable, especially when the analysis points to internal flows like leadership gaps or outdated systems, but honesty here prevents wasted effort later. Then comes the part where you propose solutions. This is where imagination, your stories, and your interactive approaches all converge. Don't limit yourself to one solution right away. Generate a few viable options. Evaluate each one in terms of feasibility, cost, time, and potential impact. Possible, run small-scale pilots to see which idea holds the most promise. When done well, this step feels like an inspired collaboration rather than a rushed scramble. It's where creativity meets structure, and the synergy can be exhilarating. From there, outline an action plan. Assign clear responsibilities, define timelines, and specify resources. Make sure everyone knows not just what needs doing, but why it matters. Oriented mindset thrives on clarity. Keep your communication lines open. If someone hits a snag, encourage them to report it early so the team can adapt. Remember, no plans to contact with reality without some adjustments. The point is to iterate in a controlled, strategic manner rather than flailing in chaos. To wrap up the cycle, success metrics help you gauge whether the plan is working. These metrics might involve key performance indicators like revenue growth, defect rates, user engagement, or team morale scores. Whatever they are, track them diligently. Progress lags with your analysis. If you miss a root cause, still relevant, or has something external changed, continuous monitoring and adjustment keep you from drifting off course. If you achieve your targets, fantastic. Celebrate that milestone, document the journey, and move on to the next challenge with renewed confidence. Effective problem solving is not a matter of luck. It's the outcome of a repeatable process that aligns insight, strategy, and diligent execution. I recall reading that from an operations guru, and it's a statement that cuts straight to the heart of what we're doing here. The more you rely on a structured approach, the less you depend on chance. You empower yourself and your team to tackle obstacles in a manner that's both systematic and innovative. Consider an example from the world of software. The development team notices that every time they release a new update, a spike in bug reports hits their customer service lines. The challenge is clear updates, destabilizing the user experience, deep to find the root cause. Maybe it's an inadequate testing environment that doesn't replicate real-world conditions. Perhaps the team is rushing releases without proper quality assurance. Solutions might involve investing in better testing tools, altering release cycles, or reassigning resources to beef up quality control. Each proposed solution is then mapped onto a detailed action plan, new testing protocols, revised deadlines, additional check-ins of the QA team, and so forth. Metrics are tracked with each update release, and if the bug count drops consistently, they know they're on the right track. Take a manufacturing scenario where product defects are increasing. The challenge is controlling the defect rate. The team investigates the assembly line, covers that unbalanced workloads cause some stations to rush their tasks, and identifies that the root causes suboptimal staffing and training. The solution might involve reconfiguring workstations, investing in better training, automating certain processes. They create an action plan with new staffing schedules, updated job aids, and performance metrics measuring defect rates each week. As those metrics improve, they confirm the solution is effective. This approach applies universally whether you're dealing with personal productivity, organization transformation, or societal issues like climate change. The scale differs, but the fundamental steps remain the same. Identify the challenge, analyze its roots, propose multiple solutions, plan for execution, and measure outcomes. Moreover, if at first you don't succeed, you revisit each stage with the newfound information you've gained. It's a cycle that fosters continuous improvement. When we adopt this cyclical problem-solving pattern, we also strengthen our culture of accountability. Everyone knows how to articulate challenges, scrutinize them with data, brainstorm solutions, and execute a plan. Team members become more proactive, spotting issues sooner and voicing possible fixes. Solutions get better over time because the lessons learned from each cycle feed into the next. For organizations, this method is particularly powerful because it scales. You can apply it to a small marketing campaign or a massive product overall. You can teach it to new hires so they quickly understand how to contribute meaningfully. Once you embed this framework in the daily routine, people start tackling problems earlier, more efficiently, better long-term outcomes. Over months and years, this cumulative effect can catapult an organization from mediocrity to innovation leadership by integrating everything we've explored. The curiosity-driven discovery, the unifying story, the rigorous analysis, the collaborative interactivity, and the structured problem-solving framework, you set yourself up for real, lasting success. This journey we've taken together demonstrates that each piece is vital. Neglect one, and you risk partial or temporary fixes. Embrace them all, and you stand a far better chance of conquering the most formidable challenges. Come quite a long way in our exploration of how to build and reinforce problem skills. This is more than an abstract theory, it's a toolkit for life. Now, as we move toward the conclusion, let's reflect on what the future could hold with more people, teams, and societies embrace a solution-oriented mindset. Let's consider the challenges we must face, the commitment we owe each other, the hope we can spark in those who will follow our lead. When I look ahead, I see a world brimming with challenges and possibilities in equal measure. Our species stands on the cusp of monumental decisions about climate, resource management, and technological ethics. Yet, when I think of the potential we have, I'm filled with a sense of optimism. The same creative drive that took us from horse-drawn carriages to electric vehicles, and from candlelight to solar-powered cities is still within us. If we harness it wisely, we keep ourselves grounded in data and open to innovation, and if we share our stories with one another in good faith, we can address problems that now seem insurmountable. The future I envision is one where collaboration takes precedence over competition when it comes to solving humanity's biggest obstacles. A global network of problem solvers, entrepreneurs, scientists, policymakers, community leaders, all subscribe to the ideals we've discussed: curiosity, clear communication, rigorous analysis, collaborative learning, and structured action. They see each other not as threats, but as allies, each bringing unique insights and resources to the table. The breakthroughs we could witness in energy, health, transportation, even space exploration might far exceed our current expectations. But we must also be honest about the formidable obstacles that line the path. Climate change threatens not just polar bears and coral reefs, but entire economic systems and ways of life. Political divisions, misinformation, and lack of trust can cripple our capacity to act cohesively. Technological leaps come with ethical dilemmas around privacy, security, and equity. These challenges require an unflinching commitment to keep asking, what's the real problem here, and how can we solve it together? The magnitude of these issues also demands that we maintain a disciplined and humble approach. No single person, company, or even nation can solve these crises alone. True progress will rely on an unprecedented level of cooperation and a shared, solution-oriented mindset that transcends borders and ideologies. This is where I challenge each of you to be bold. Whether you're leading a startup, a research team, or simply trying to make your local community a better place, own the responsibility of bringing this mindset to life. Challenge your own assumptions. Dare to question the status quo in your organization. Makes you temporarily unpopular. Facilitate conversations that begin not with blame, but with a collective curiosity about how to move forward. Instigate interactive problem-solving sessions in your workplace. Support initiatives that align with your values and demand transparency from leaders, colleagues, and even yourself. Push for the adoption of metrics that value long-term impact over short-term gains. Encourage people around you to see problems not as reasons to despair, but as catalysts for innovation. I'm committed to being part of that collective effort. I believe in openly sharing the successes and failures of initiatives I'm involved in, whether they concern space travel, energy solutions, or new forms of digital communication. I believe in investing time, capital, and resources into endeavors that might seem risky but hold the promise of significant humanity. Most of all, I believe in fostering a culture where people aren't afraid to take on big challenges. If we can't tackle them alone, we'll find others who can help us. If we fail, we'll learn, adjust, and keep going. That's the essence of a solution-oriented mindset. We persist until we find a path forward. If you're listening to these words and thinking, this all sounds great, but I'm just one person, remember that big change often starts with small acts of bravery. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting to advocate for a new approach. Maybe it's setting aside time each week to train yourself in analytical tools, or enrolling in a course on data science or project management. Maybe it's volunteering for a cross-departmental initiative that aims to solve an organizational bottleneck. Every effort you make to contribute, learn, and collaborate adds up. The ripple effects can spread further than you'd ever anticipate. So take a moment to imagine what your personal victory would look like if you fully embodied a solution-oriented mindset. Picture the project you finally see through to completion, the team you unite, or the community you uplift. Let that image fuel your determination. Yes, the challenges are real, but so is your ability to tackle them. As we edge toward the close of our discussion, I want to remind you that you are not alone on this journey. Support can come from mentors, open source communities, professional networks, who share your passion for positive change. Seek out people who challenge your thinking, hold you accountable, and cheer you on. Build relationships with individuals from diverse futures and backgrounds, because the best solutions often come from intersecting perspectives. I also encourage you to support others in their quests. Offer help when you see someone stuck. Provide constructive feedback rather than criticism. Small wins, and acknowledge that progress usually unfolds in stages, each stage requiring fresh insights and renewed effort. By being generous with your knowledge and connections, you'll find that others reciprocate, forming a resilient web of innovators who can push the boundaries even further. Finally, I want to leave you with a spark of inspiration. If you adopt a solution-oriented mindset, where every problem is an invitation to learn, and every success is a springboard, you'll discover that your capacity for impact grows exponentially. You'll inspire people around you to try harder, think more creatively, and work more cohesively. Over time, you look back and realize that what once seemed impossible is now just another milestone crossed. You might find yourself guiding a new generation of thinkers and doers who look to you for courage and advice. So let us commit right here now to approaching our greatest challenges, both personal and global, with the mindset that problems are not stopping points, but portals to transformative solutions. Let us dare to imagine that we can harness curiosity, data, collaboration, and resilience in such a way that no challenge remains insurmountable for long. In that daring, we affirm that humanity's future is bright, precisely because we choose to make it so through innovative and determined action. Thank you for being part of this journey with me today. May you carry forward the seeds of these ideas in the fertile ground of your organizations and communities, and watch them grow to the benefit of us all. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep collaborating, and above all, believing in the power of a solution-oriented mindset, when we find that even the loftiest goals become achievable milestones on a longer road of progress. Go forth and solve the problems that matter most. The world is ready for your ideas, and I, for one, can't wait to see what you'll accomplish next.